All right, and here we are, switching over. Sunday
Let's
football,
go.
1 o'clock early
Let's
games.
get it.
Out in the sun if you're in Florida.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
First game, Indianapolis Colts going into the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore's a 7.5 point favorite here at home. Week 2, Indy with AR5 there looked really good. They looked, he was moving the ball well. They scored pretty easy against Houston, but he did end up in concussion protocol there right before the halftime, and they slowed down a lot without him. And Baltimore on their week 2 had a hard fought divisional matchup against Cincinnati. They did pull out the win there. They kept the lead at the end. Um, I'd almost like Indiana to have a chance here if Anthony Richardson was healthy. But we know he's still in concussion protocol, isn't practicing yet. Him and Steichen, it's what I thought could have been, and they're doing it. I just didn't have much faith in Anthony, but they're proving me wrong, so I'll take it. But without him, I'm not quite sure that they can pull this off. I like Baltimore, tough defense, even though they're injury riddled as well. They're getting banged up with the injury bug. I still like them because of the QB situation. You can rely on Lamar. Indiana without Anthony is a little bit different. What kind of scheme is going to be put up with a less mobile Gardner Minshew? But yeah, so I'm going to go Baltimore here. Where are
Tough
you at,
not to.
Charlie?
Yeah, Indianapolis is, they've done a good job. They've done a good job taking care of Richardson as far as like putting him in good situations, using his legs, getting him outside. The play calling has been beautiful. It's been well executed, and hats off to that coaching staff. They've done a lot more um, and especially being competitive than what I expected coming in, especially early in the season. So it looks like they made the right decision to start Richardson and not just let him sit behind Minshew. That being said, this game, especially out of the 1 o'clock games, is the one I feel the most confident with. I think Baltimore's playing very well. I think they're just getting better and better as that offense is going to come along a little bit. Obviously, the hits they keep on taking at the running back position are a tough pill to swallow, but their defense is playing very well. They back-to-back weeks they've held opponents, to under 20 points, and Lamar's in there and he's taking care of business. You got Andrews getting a little bit more healthy every week, and everybody minus the running backs is still standing. So I like Baltimore. I'll lay the 8 points there, and I think Ravens cruise the victory on this one. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. It's crazy. J.K. Dobbins, injury reserve. Everyone, we all know about that. But did you know Keontae Mitchell, the kid out of Coastal Carolina, Southern
Coastal.
Coastal
Coastal.
Carolina. Sorry, really wanted to see him. He is on injured reserve as well, and then you just lose Justice Hill for 3 to 4 weeks, which is another blow. I'm still going to take the Baltimore Ravens here just because that defense is still on the field and not injured. And Zay Flowers is just really looking like the guy that he was coming out of college. Charlie really talked about him, said he was the most complete wide receiver. I laughed in his face because of how big he was. I thought that the size was just going to be an issue. We weren't going to get versatility. We weren't going to get a lot of these things because of the size. It's one thing to be real little and be shifty, but it's something else to watch him. And also out of Dallas, I don't want to change too many gears. Deuce is playing very well as well for two guys being
Yep.
such a short stature. I'm going to Baltimore Ravens here because how do you bet against the defense and how do you bet against the quarterback? I think Lamar is the best quarterback on the field at this point. And I just think that the Baltimore Ravens and the coaching staff are just going to edge this one out. I still think it's going to be a decent game for at least 2 to 3 quarters. I don't think at all that the Colts are going to lay down, and I think Minshew's still going to put up some points. But I'll give the nod and the 8 to the Ravens. I got to take the Ravens here, guys.
Fair enough. I got 2 questions. One, a little bit fun side with OBJ supposedly talking to Kim. You think the Kardashian curse is going to hit Baltimore?
He's already questionable. He's already hurt with an ankle injury coming in. Yes, it's very possible. Yes, I mean, if you look at the history of Kardashians touching men, bro, they crumble. Okay, I just want the Kardashians to leave football alone and stay in basketball, please, please, honey. Don't
Yeah.
come to the NFL and start touching all these guys and turning them to stone, please.
I
All
think
right.
I think Baltimore as an organization and that roster there, I think they're one of the few teams that can weather those celebrity type things because that locker room and that coaching staff seems to be very gelled, and it starts with Coach Harbaugh and it trickles down from there and even the front office. But the players on the field, they're all around the same age. They're all relatively, connected with each other as far as like social media. Like they all give me off the same vibe that they're it's a good relationship there. So I think if any team can weather that kind of distraction, I think Baltimore is a good situation to do it in. Do I think it's good for Beckham
OB.
personally? Probably not, because those relationships definitely can take away from what you're doing at work. We'll see how it
Fair
goes.
enough. Fair enough. All right. All right. More serious note though. Here, I'll go fantasy ball. Let's say you're one of the dudes that bet on Anthony Richardson to be decent, and you had him in your fantasy team starting. With him
Mhm.
being injured versus this, you guys both said Baltimore defense is going to be tough. Would you go and pick up Minshew and play your hand with the Colts, or are you going to avoid Minshew here?
I personally would not touch Minshew in this matchup. I definitely would look.
Look
I'd,
elsewhere.
I'd I'd look for a CJ Stroud if he didn't get picked up after last week. I'd look for a different option. I'm trying to think in deeper leagues. Maybe Pickett's out there. I think he's got a good matchup against the Raiders. I think there are more viable options. If you're down to Minshew and that's the only thing you got to work with, then I think you're in trouble, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not taking Minshew. I love his fire though. I love the shorts. I love the haircut.
Yes,
But
I love the
nah.
stash.
Yeah, I
as
love I
a
love the
backup
stash.
quarterback, I'm behind him. Yeah,
Yeah.
if he's got to be my guy that comes in, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Fantasy wise, no,
Zero
he's not
chance.
sitting at the table.
Zero
Gotcha.
chance.
Gotcha. All right. All right. So we're Baltimore across the board here. Moving on. Tennessee Titans going into Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's a 3.5 point favorite here. Last week, Tennessee big overtime win over the Chargers. Tannehill looked probably one of the best games of his career, just smooth
Very,
wise. Maybe not biggest numbers, but 20 of 24, 246 with the touchdown, no
very
interceptions. Much improved after the
Wow.
previous week one where he had 3 interceptions. So huge
Wow.
for him there. Cleveland, they lost their divisional heartbreaker there with Pittsburgh Monday Night Football. So kind of a quicker turnaround here. Um, both teams very well coached. Both teams very great run game. Both teams need to work on their passing. Both teams good defenses. This is a fun matchup. I think. I think this is a really fun matchup. And then the big question: what does Cleveland look without Chubb? I mean, uh, Ford, he looked really good there filling in. How does it play out when teams are ready for him? And how much is the Hunt signing going to affect the situation? There's a lot of question marks in this game. I think I take Tennessee here with the upset in Cleveland. I think there's too much going on. I think the coaching gets a little out of hand in Cleveland, trying to mix things up without Chubb. Ford was good. They bring in Hunt. I think they try to do a little bit too much. I think it's just a bad week for them. I think Tennessee takes it. It's going to be, I think, low scoring game, like maybe 20-17, something like that. I'm going to go Tennessee here with the upset. Where you at, Charlie?
This is a tough one to call.
So tough.
I
So tough.
battled with this one throughout the week. I never thought I would be thinking of Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill in the same light, but right now, there's not a lot separating those two guys. It's a tough one for me. Originally, yeah, I was waiting to see because Deshaun had the little incident with the referee on Monday night. I thought, there was a lot of talk of possible suspension at first. He got cleared of that. Ref said no big deal. So that's good to hear. Um, it's tough. I think the Browns are not going to miss too much of a beat. with Chubb being gone, you don't want to have Chubb gone, and especially like that. So don't get me out of context there. But I think they're going to continue to run the ball heavily. Um, with the signing of Kareem Hunt and bringing him back there, they'll have a nice balanced mix with him and Ford. Um, I think the Browns pull this out, but if I was playing it by the numbers, I think I gotta take the Titans with the points there. I think I agree with you. I think it's going to be a 20-17. That's how I had written down on my paper too.
Just the
Um,
other way.
but with the Titans, they muck it up. They could very well be 2-0 at this point, and no one would have thought that, but they could have. They could have just managed a touchdown against the Saints in week one. I think this is going to be a grimy game. The Browns defense is playing great. So if they could just get more out of Deshaun, I think this would be a little bit easier picking the Browns. But I'll go Browns when it's just apples to apples, money line, who I think is going to win the game. I like the home team here. Bounce back off of that tough loss to Pittsburgh. So I'll take the Browns here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see everything you're saying because I was torn on this. I mean, obviously, Chubb going down was huge, but Greg Newsome went down in that game. He's questionable coming into this week. Amari Cooper, who wasn't even probably going to play that game, is also chipped up, probably from and still before the start of that game. Their offensive tackle, Dredrick Wills Jr. is questionable, and a huge signing that the defense really needed to help Myles Garrett out. Zadarius Smith is also questionable coming into this game, but I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I just think that Deshaun Watson will find a way this game to get it done. Pittsburgh plays them so well. It's a divisional opponent, and I'm going to give them a bit of a pass. And I think, little fantasy alert, I think if Cedric Tillman's sitting on the bench there, I think potentially this could be a guy that could end up making a pop in this game in particular, and I don't see why not. But also you could get from the Jets the trade. Is it Elijah Mitchell or is it Moore?
Elijah Moore.
Moore, sorry.
Elijah Moore.
Because Mitchell's the running back from the 49ers, right? Yeah. Sorry, sometimes I just
I
get
think
them
he's
both.
down in Miami now, though.
They both
No, Mitchell's still backing up CMC.
yeah, he's
Oh, is
still a
he? Okay.
49er, yeah.
I thought he was one of the
Everybody else,
seven. Thought he was one of the seven
everybody
that
else
went.
that's a running back is with Miami.
Yeah, right. And, I just think potentially they could edge this one out just because of how solid the D-line is and how good the D-line has been playing. It's a little, Grant Delpit also, too, in that Pittsburgh Steeler game was really making some big plays coming down in the box, which I expect to see against the Tennessee Titans. I am worried about that Tennessee Titan backfield, which then could open things up to allow Tannehill to be Tannehill and do very Tannehill-esque things, where he's not under pressure throwing the ball because you're so damn worried about if they're going to hand it off or not, and they run the play action. That's what really makes Baker good, the play action. But I'm gonna give them a pass. I'm gonna go the Browns. I really think they could eventually turn it around. I don't know you're gonna see much production out of Hunt. If he does start this game, it's probably gonna be a Ford galore. You got him, start him. I don't know, Brady. How about you?
No, I agree. And luckily, I had drafted Ford at the beginning of the season in our league, just because I thought he'd be almost like a Hunt situation since they had lots, so they let Hunt walk. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll take the next man up and see, and I'll just hold it and see how it plays. And
Smart.
Unfortunately, Chubb went down, so here I am sitting on Ford, but definitely starting him.
Goldmine.
I remember me and Eddie talking preseason last year, and I brought up the Ford kid because I seen him in a couple of games in preseason last year, and he reminded me of when I seen Ramondre Stevenson in the preseason. I was like, that kid can play.
Yeah.
And he was so far down last year. He's behind Chubb and Dearness Johnson, but they let both those guys walk. Dearness Johnson to Jacksonville, and obviously Chubb just a free agency. and they
Hunt.
kept, they put him as the main backup, and kid's got some juice. He's got some
Yeah.
juice. I like him moving forward better than I do Kareem Hunt. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
I don't see it as he's the leader. I just see it as by committee because the two of them have two different types of styles that they offer,
very much.
and take two of them separately, individually, collectively are Kareem Hunt. I mean, are Chubb, Hill, and Ford.
Fair.
They're this. If you could ball them together, it'd be Chubb, but it's not. So you gotta deploy them differently.
Fair
For
enough.
sure.
I think you'll still get success, but it won't be just one of them. It'll have to be collective.
Gotcha. All right, here. That's Tennessee Cleveland game. I'll be lone wolf here with Tennessee. You guys both Cleveland. It'll be fun.
So,
Moving on though. Denver Broncos going into Miami Dolphins. Miami's a 6.5 point favorite here. Week 2, Denver loses the ugly game versus Washington. Their defense did not look as pretty as it should have. Miami won their divisional battle versus New England, which was a little bit nitty gritty, which was awesome to see. I would have loved to see them convert that fourth down. Just come on, refs. Let the ball land on the line. Come on, refs. sorry. I know we don't want to divulge too much there in the past, but yeah, Denver week 1 offense struggled. Week 2 their defense struggled. Is week 3 where they both of them play well and they can take this from Miami?
They both
That's a
struggle.
that's a question, or they both struggle. Um, Miami run game was a big surprise last week. I liked seeing that. Mostert was all over the field, looked really good. So that helped out them tremendously versus New England. I'm not this one to me. It was up in the air. I know Miami's a 6.5 point favorite. I know it's a heavy swing in their favorite, but something about it for me is Denver is swinging for the fences. They're going all out. They're finding ways to score. And it's just, here they got a good secondary to slow down those receivers. And if you can just essentially outpace them and do better than the Chargers did, week 1, they can win this game. I think I'm going to take the risk here, and I think I'm going to take Denver Broncos solely because if I pull it off, I can pass Eddie here in picks because he's leading me by 1 game. So I'm going to take a heavy risk here. I'm going to go Denver Broncos, and I'm going to say the secondary slows down Miami's receivers just enough for Denver to outscore them. It's going to be like a last-second Hail Mary again that Denver's going to pull off, but they're actually going to pull off the 2-point conversion and win it. But we'll see
Never thought
here.
I'd hear you say that. Definitely. I'm glad we got it recorded.
Yeah,
absolutely wild ending last week with the Denver game.
For
it
sure.
I
was.
was I was watching it, and I'm like,
Both
wow.
games. Both games.
So amazing football up to this point. I was really impressed with the way Miami went into Foxborough at night, and they took care of business. And they took care of business knowing that they were going to shut down Tariq Hill, knowing Jalen Waddle's banged up, and they beat him with a run game. Like that proved to me Miami's legit this year. Like Miami has got the right kind of play calling
Mm-hmm.
going on. The defense, I feel like, is going to get better and better as the year goes on. This is Fangio, a little bit revenge game against the Denver Broncos, but you kind of hinted at how I felt about it, about Denver having to outpace Miami and stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of points here. I like this one like 35 to 24, 28. But I think the Fins covered the points. I think they win the game. I think all in all, they're top 5 in the league right now. Miami Dolphins are, and I don't see the Broncos putting it all together this week. You're right. It's been a tale of two halves. We talked about the Giants on the Thursday night game, and the Broncos season has been, yeah, we're doing really good, and then second half it's like foot off the gas. Nothing seems to be building on top of each other. Teams come from behind, and you end up getting beat. It happened with the Raiders. Shouldn't have happened. And then last week you had Washington to the mat. All you had to do was cover them up. Couldn't do it. I had good thoughts about the Broncos. I think this is just going to continue to build on itself. I think they will get a little bit better this week, but I got to go Dolphins. I dropped the points. I like the over 48. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough. You still got Waddles, and concussion protocol. So they really could, have the ability to double team Tariq and try and just shut Tariq out and make him be non-existent. And then now you guys got to beat me with the run. But I still like the chances of Miami if that is the case. I'm wondering, though, coming into this game, if I'm going to get to see my man from the U. Really hope to see him come back because he didn't play last week. Is it
Talk
Jalen?
about Phillips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Phillips.
yeah, he sat out
He's
last
still
week. Hopefully he is
questionable
back.
with a back, but he practiced. He was limited in Wednesday's practice, so I'm thinking hopefully he'll be ready to go. Same thing with Tariq Hill was limited with an ankle injury. So I mean the potential is there with Waddle being down. I could see it, but I think they're firing on all cylinders. Tua's a damn black belt in karate now. He trained over the summer. He's no punk bitch. You're just not coming back there pushing him around anymore. I'm going to blowholes here. I'm going to take the Dolphins in the points. Because everybody's like, what? I mean, look, he's a great coach in Denver. I love the guy. Russ got the accolades and the paperwork with some jewelry to back it up, but it just prove it to me. And I don't know. It's going to be week 3, man. I got to take the Fins here. I'm going blowholes with the points, man. Dolphins. I don't know. How about you, Brape?
Yeah, take him straight forward. Smart way to do it, but hey, I'll take the risk. I'll be the one.
I'll take some other risks. I just don't like that risk. That risk there for the biscuit. I don't like it.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with Charlie. Miami. I think at the end of the year, Miami finishes as the top 5 team. I just, with everything going on with Miami, the injuries, their defense still needs to figure it out entirely. Broncos, I think, are on their way up. I think it just might be the game where Broncos catch them.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
you gotta pick your shots, and this is the NFL, and the margin of error from a bad team to a good to 2 teams, the separation is not that much. All it takes is a little something like a couple of injuries or something like that to really swing the tide of a game. So
The tight end Greg Dulcich going down for the season though on IR is pretty big for them because him and Wilson were really starting to get a chemistry going year 2
yeah, he looked like a good talent last year.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, there's that game. I'll be lone wolf again. Moving on.
It's okay.
New England Patriots going to the New York Jets. New England's a 2.5-point favorite here. Week 2, New England couldn't quite keep up with Miami. We just touched on that game a little bit.
No doubt.
Jets had a rough going against Dallas, but
We figured that.
That's the way Dallas is right now, and the fact that you're without Aaron Rodgers, you're figuring out a new offense, or you're back to your old offense, whatever you want to call it. It's not pretty right now. But last week showed me New England's corners, they can hang with whoever.
No doubt.
Gonzalez back there was phenomenal. And when there was questions, and that man fell to late 20s there in the first round when he was supposed to be a top 10 at one point. So huge for New England, getting the most out of him.
Massive.
But then Jets struggled behind Wilson again, and then New England kind of has Wilson's number. I think last year, both games, he got beat up on pretty bad by New England. So I think that trend continues. I think Belichick just outcoaches this young mind of Wilson. He gets them all confused and flustered, and it's going to be a tough going for the young man Zach there in New York. And I'm going to go New England Patriots here to win. Where you at, Charlie?
Respect. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm not just backing the Patriots because of Belichick anymore. I think I'm taking Jets here. Give me the 2.5 points at home. I like the Jets establishing a run game. I like them being super grimy on defense. You're not
Love the
wrong about
defense.
what you said about what's that?
I said love the defense. Love it.
You're not wrong about looking at the Patriots and definitely the history of Zach Wilson against the Patriots. I think he's got 25 interceptions in 2 games against them. It's terrible numbers. But I think on the flip side, I think this Jets defense is going to cause lots of trouble for the Patriot offense. And yeah, I like the Jets to pull out a squeaker, like a 24-20. I just got too much respect for that Jets defense. They kind of were manhandled by Dallas's offensive line last week. So I look for a bounce back game from their front seven. Who better to take it out on than Mac Jones and the Patriots offense? I think this is a very grimy, personal game between Salah and Belichick, the two sides. This is almost the battle in New York. Um, Close proximity and stuff. Lots of history between these teams, dating way back with Parcells and all this good stuff. Um, so yeah, I'm a go Jets at home. Definitely give me. I'll take the 2.5 points, but I think the Jets win.
Yeah, I think
How
the
about you, Ed?
Jets, the Jets definitely have a ferocious no-fly zone defense. But I'm still gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the Patriots because of Bill. I'm gonna take Bill. I'm gonna take the Patriots because I think that at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, and it has to, I think Wilson is just gonna go ahead and just be frivolous. And Mac Jones is coached, so if it does happen, it was because he was told to just let it rip. I just think at a point, his not giving a shit attitude when it comes to Wilson or just doing it to prove people wrong and not doing it for himself. I just think there's still a learning curve there. And I even had said this shit to Charlie like a season or two ago about him where the kid's doing it for all the wrong reasons, and I still think he's doing it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, maybe Aaron Rodgers was getting some ground there, but the fact that he's gone now and he's not there, he's not on the ground with him all the time. Maybe in this game, maybe if he was on the ground there on the sideline, I'd be okay with this pick, and I would pick the Jets solely because of their defense and how ferocious it is. But I think that they're going to game plan against stopping the run, and they got the corners to stop the Jets. I just think that this is going to be a super low-scoring game, and I'm taking the Patriots. And the Patriots will end up edging this one out because of the game plan, and they'll be prepared. Taking the
Fair enough.
I'm taking the Patriots again. Cause of Bill.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta. Charlie will be the lone wolf
Oh,
here
I've
on
done
this
it.
one.
I've done it twice. I've done it
Yeah.
twice already.
Yeah, but I think that this is the game they got to win, right? They have to win this game. It's like more for them than it is for the Jets. The Jets already
I
got.
feel like that, but I've watched the Jets beat the Bills in Week 1, and they had Zach Wilson at the helm, and I watched that running game against a very good Buffalo defense. Probably man for man, more just as talented as what the Patriots have, and they got the running game going,
Right.
and they were able to pull it out, and that was a
Right.
remarkable fashion.
You know what it
But
is? If you ask me right now, Eddie, what the hell is wrong with you, and why the hell are you picking the Patriots over the Jets? I would tell you the reason being because of the last game I watched the Patriots play the Dolphins, and that team was high powered. That offense is high powered, and they literally just stifled that offense. And let me just tell you, the Jets' offense is nowhere near as high powered as the Dolphins. So I think they're going to struggle to score points. I really do, because I think Belichick will game plan. Now, the hard part will be the Patriots scoring. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's easier for the Patriots to stop the Jets than it will be for the Jets to stop the Patriots, maybe.
A perfect transition here for my fantasy question. Would you rather have the Jets defense versus Mac Jones, or would you rather have Philly or Patriots defense versus Zach Wilson?
I'm
since
taking
I'm
Jets.
since I'm going Jets, I
Taking
think
Jets
they could
team.
produce a touchdown. I mean, Patriots could too. I don't think there's a wrong answer in this
I
block.
agree. Yeah,
It's a
but I'm going
great
Jets.
question.
I'm taking Jets though.
I'll take
No,
Jets too.
I would take New England's defense just history wise. Look, give me the 8 interceptions and give me the 30 fantasy points just off that.
Hey, spoiler alert! I'm only going Jets defense because I'm starting them this week, so they better do good.
All
I
right.
think the Jets defense will get more opportunities at sacks against Mac Jones than what the Patriots are going to get against.
I agree.
Yeah,
Well said.
don't count out Judon, but we'll see. Keep this train rolling though. Next 1 o'clock game,
No doubt.
Buffalo Bills 1-1 going into Washington Commanders. Surprising 2-0 here. Buffalo 6.5 point favorite here. Last week, Buffalo finally woke up, wanted to play some football. They dominated Las Vegas. Washington played really well there against Denver. We just talked about them. Played a lot better than people are expecting. They're looking like a pretty good ball club. Buffalo. I touched on
A squeaker
Buffalo.
against Denver.
Yeah, I touched on Buffalo struggling against Denver or against the Jets. Just touched on that. Tough defense. Washington has potential to be a tough defense, but I think their weak spot is that secondary, and that's where they excelled last week. Buffalo looked really good against picking apart a weaker secondary of Las Vegas. They ate, and they just kept eating. They kept moving the ball. There was no slowing them down. I think they dominated the score clock like 40 minutes to 20 minutes, so they doubled the time of possession. So I watch out for Buffalo here. I think high scoring game for Buffalo. Tough for Washington. Despite what Washington has shown so far, I think this might be the wake up call that Washington's not as good as they're playing.
Agreed.
Where you at, Charlie?
Um, I did like a lot of the things that the Bills did last week. Josh Allen was a lot cleaner in his decision making, took care of the football. They got Cook involved. He had like 70 on the ground, 60 through the air receiving. Fantasy studs galore in this game. You're talking about Brian Robinson having a big couple of weeks for the Commanders on the other side. The Commanders, they're one of those teams where they put together two really good halves of football. They struggled for a half against Arizona. They struggled for a half last week against the Denver Broncos. So they're a team that's still finding their way too. It's early in the season. I agree with you, Brady. I think Buffalo does score points here. I think the Commanders, though, score points as well. I'm liking quite a bit of points in this game. I think the Commanders find a way to cover the 6.5 point spread, but I'm taking the Bills for the dub. Um, I'm curious to see if Josh Allen can stay clean again, take care of the football. I was a little bit disappointed still with the Bills' red zone efficiency though, because I was watching the game, and I think they had like 4 or 5 trips inside the 10, taking Cook off the field, bringing in Latavius Murray, and they were inside the 5 and couldn't punch it in time after time against the Raiders. It could have been a lot more lopsided than it was. When you do things like that, when you play better teams, that's when it comes to bite you in the ass at the end of the game. I think those type of situations, Buffalo still got to get cleaned up before I start placing them back in the top 10 and legitimately, a threat at the end of the day. And I think Washington's able to make plays and stay in the game. Their offense is put up over 20 each week, which is something we couldn't guarantee from a Washington team last year. So I think Bieniemy has got some good things flowing with that offense there. Obviously touched on the running game with Brian Robinson. So I think this one's close. Bills end up winning though. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I'm gonna end up taking the Bills here too. I thought about taking the Commanders. I'm a little worried about their tight
Do
end.
it. Give me some leverage on you.
I'm going a little bit. I'm a little worried again about their tight end going down. Logan Thomas is hurt again. Concussion protocol, man. I don't know how many seasons in a row we heard him getting a concussion. I think it's just time. Maybe potentially you should just hang the cleats up, bro. Your health is just so much more important than trying to make a few bucks playing a game, dude. I just think that health
Isn't
and
that the same
quality.
thing that happened to their last tight end, the kid out of the Florida Gators? Didn't he end up accumulating too many
This is I'm
concussions?
pretty
Forget his
sure
name.
this is the same kid. He's literally been like injury riddled, season ending like every year. He was a quarterback and he transitioned to tight
No, this
end.
is Virginia Tech kid. You talk about Logan Thomas. I'm talking about the tight
Yeah.
end before them. I'll look up his name while you're talking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but so I mean, that's huge. He's down again. I don't know that they've really had a good option at tight end for a while since Chris Cooley. He was a solid stud for them for many, many seasons. I'm gonna go Buffalo here because I just think that with the Dalton Kincaid and everything that that Buffalo has to fire out there on all cylinders. I just think eventually that will overpower whatever it is the Commanders have, because I know the Buffalo's struggling, Josh Allen's struggling, but I just don't. I think he'll get into a rhythm against this Washington team, and maybe this will be a stepping stone moving forward for the rest of the season. I think he'll get it together. This one, I'm taking Buffalo. I'll take the points too. I'll take Buffalo covering the points.
Nice. Jordan Reed was who I was talking about. He had to walk away because of concussions.
And this is another guy, Jordan. Yeah, I don't even remember Jordan Reed. How many seasons ago was that?
That was a while back.
3, 4, 5.
No.
Okay.
Good 5 or 6.
Okay. Yeah. No. But I mean, this is all I remember of him is the concussions and things. So.
Oh yeah, Logan Thomas has been steady beat up.
Yeah,
and he's talented.
Yeah, I hope he gets it together.
All right. Anything here? So Buffalo across the board. Anything else to add here?
No, sir.
No, there's lots of nice fantasy options here. Whether you're talking about Cooks or Diggs, or if we were all right about Gabe Davis. We had that little question last week.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Gabe Davis popped off. It was a sighting. It looks like Terry's starting to work his way back into the offense for the Commanders.
Scary.
It was tough for me to come up with a question to kind of mirror this one. So
fair enough. Keep the ball rolling though. Next game, Atlanta Falcons going in the Detroit Lions. Detroit 3-point favorite here. Last week, Atlanta won a hard-fought battle against Green Bay. Last second kind of comeback, or last drive comeback there, and then stalled out Green Bay to win. Detroit losing in overtime to Seattle. Tough break. We all thought Detroit was going to handle that one, but they do have their holes in their game. It is what it is. For me, the big hole for Detroit is fixing that red zone. Seattle was 4 of 5. KC in week 1 was 2 of 3. Right there, fixing the red zone will get them more wins. Plain and simple. You can't have teams being 90% on you just because they're inside the 20. Yeah. You hold them to field goals, get a turnover. You've worked on your defense. Let that defense work up. Atlanta, other side of the ball though, continuing their heavy run.
And it's working.
They don't care. We're going to run it. We're going to find a new way to run it. We're going to run it. We'll just let Bijan Robinson dance a little bit. It don't matter. They're running the ball. It is Desmond Ritter's thrown it, like 40 times? There's quarterbacks have thrown it 40 times in one game so far.
Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
Bijan looks incredible.
Brady's having some technical difficulties.
No doubt.
Yeah. Atlanta's been running
flipping the ball into the red zone of Detroit. I said Atlanta having a hard time moving the ball into the red zone. So I like Detroit here, outscoring, outpacing, and then I think the defense just does enough to not let Atlanta score. I'm going Detroit.
No doubt.
Where are you at, Charlie?
Flipped it to Detroit. This is a tough one, man. Atlanta's been playing great, and as you illustrated with the run game, man, Bijan's looked fabulous. Everything that he's been advertised to be. Ritter, as a result, has not had to do too much, but he opened up a little bit against the Packers last week. There was a Drake London sighting, which was nice for my fantasy team. On the other side, the Lions, we were talking about their defense and how well they showed up against KC. Interesting red zone numbers, though. I like that you dropped that out there. I thought that the Seahawks would be able to put up some points just because of the weapons on the outside. It was a surprise, though. They pulled out the win, too, especially in Detroit. But that just shows you lots of these teams are still gelling, still growing. And the Lions, they are a trendy pick this year coming into the season, but they've still got growing to do too. This is not a championship caliber team at this point. This is an early season test. I like this game a lot. This will be one of the ones that I'd like to watch. I'm gonna take Lions here. I think they end up pulling it out because I think they've got a sound recipe to where they can do both. Although Amon-Ra is banged up with a little bit of turf toe, he might not go. That is a big concern for a pretty thin Detroit receiving core already, minus Jameson Williams, obviously, for a couple more weeks until he comes back from the suspension. that bothers me a little bit. They lost Montgomery last week. That bothers me too. So I think this game is going to be really close. I think both teams are going to be able to score. I just like the Lions outlasting here. Atlanta always seems to play these games where it's one possession games, whether they win them or lose them, and that's going back to last season. Last week they were able to pull it out. Tough one against the Packers, another good team. I think the Lions are slightly better than the Packers. I think the Lions end up edging this one out. So give me Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I literally got the Lions written down here,
You thinking about switch?
but I'm switching. I'm gonna take.
Nah.
He's doing it.
I'm gonna
Hey, it
take
bit me
Atlanta.
yet last week with Atlanta.
I'm gonna take Atlanta, and the only reason why I'm taking Atlanta is because C.J. Gardner Johnson just got put on IR, and he
Hell, that's a
might
good one.
play again this season. He might. They said he might. But the fact that you lost Montgomery and you got the Rook now, relying on the Rook. I think the dynamic of how your offense operates now, I think you have to feed the rookie tight end now. I
Yeah,
think you have
Porter.
to feed as many tight ends as you can to try and get an edge and give your perimeter guys an opportunity to make a play to get open. I think the dynamic of this changes. I still think that Goff is capable of coming out and orchestrating a dub. But those three dudes that were not playing in this game are such a big deal for their offense in general. I think that the run game, considering last week they had a tough time trying to stop the run against Seattle, which I couldn't believe that they were even struggling, considering Campbell, considering Hutchinson, considering the interior of that D line they got young, and I just think that at the end of the day it was crazy to me how they're still just not performing to the level that we think and believe that they should. Like how Arizona, like it was just like, man, Arizona's great, and then like now we're just like they're just not, and we're never going to say that again. Even if Kyler's still there next year, we're not going to say that. So I just think that this week they're going to struggle to stop the run, and that's literally with the Falcons. That's their bread and butter, and I just don't know if they're going to find a way to do that week 3. I'm switching. I'm taking the feathers. I'm
The
taking the
most
birds.
surprising thing to me last week was the fact that the Lions got 0 sacks against Geno Smith. You're telling me the Rams were able to generate, I think it was 4 sacks against Geno Smith. They dropped both their tackles. Seattle was missing both their bookend tackles, their young studs, and you didn't sack Geno Smith one time. That was concerning because
Yeah.
we were watching the Monday night game and Hutchinson was an animal against a full strength KCO line. And I just don't know where it went,
Yeah.
but you got to do better.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Anything to add there? I can give one fantasy question, but anything for you guys you want to throw in there?
Nope, I don't got one for this one. What you got?
No.
You want Rook Laporta or you want the 3-year man Pitts tight end?
Laporta.
It's got to be Laporta, man.
It's
I mean,
gotta be.
circumstantial with Amon-Ra being limited, and like Eddie touched on, the dynamics of that run game probably changing a little bit. I think Laporta this is his game. If you've got
Yeah.
him, I would put him in the starting
And I think
lineup.
if you don't
Push you
got him,
out.
you go get him. I think you go get him. I think you go get him because this could be his coming out game. And then, like, from this game forward, it's like, all right, well, we still have St. Brown, but we're going to keep going to Laporta because let's just ease St. Brown back in coming back from the injury. Let's just ease the backfield up, and let these guys come back and get healthy. I just think potentially, the defense is struggling so much, and then your offensive acquisitions that you need to help you move the ball aren't there either. I just think it's a tough stretch. I mean, yeah, it's at home. Yes, it's going to be loud, but yeah, it'll be quiet when Robinson gets going because he's going to get going.
The thing is with Pitts, though, it only takes one catch for him. Like if they could just manage to throw the ball his way on a deep route, he is crazy fast and athletic, but they
No
have
doubt.
not done it since they drafted him. It shakes my head why you even drafted him because they haven't used him yet. He's a
Yeah, yeah,
Ferrari. They've kept him in the garage, haven't even drove it to the gas station yet. So I
Yeah,
yeah.
mean,
that
there's
No,
yeah.
the potential
Well said,
there.
Yep.
Charlie. Listen, Atlanta, Dirty Birds, if you're listening, okay, and you hear us, all right, and you're a fan, and you somehow have some sort of ear in the organization, you better turn right around right now after you hear this, and you better go let the organization know what are you doing with Kyle Pitts. Feed him.
I mean, give him a wheel route at least once a game, just
I
something.
mean,
It
bring him
is
on, bring him on a
frustrating.
tight end ending around and just dump it to something. Let us see what the boys
Yeah,
got in the tank.
it's it'll be wild. It's crazy how
Feed him,
how little he's kind of been utilized in that system,
no doubt.
considering where you picked him up.
He's
And
not a pit bull NASCAR, but he
I
sure
said
is a
it last
NASCAR.
year. I said it last year. Like he was a second tight end pick after Kelsey, and I was like, people are nuts. You are insane that you think he's that valuable on a fantasy team.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is what it is. But yeah, so Laporta across the board. I think this could be the breaking out game. I did see something online where he's playing like close to 80% of the snaps right now on offense. So like eventually they're gonna be like, hey, you're working hard. Let's get you the ball now.
Yeah.
That's kind of Dan Campbell's mo. Like, hey, you give me 110%, I'll give you
Hey,
110%. So
if Cedric Tillman, Cleveland Browns, if Cedric Tillman has it in him, if he has it in him and it's real and a dude's real deal, then it could be this week for Cleveland Browns receiving
Keep on plugging them. It'll work out.
one day.
all right, next game. Let's keep it going. New Orleans Saints going into the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is a 2-point favorite here. For me, another tough game to call here. Hard battle. Week 2, New Orleans won. Close contest, divisional rival there, Carolina. They had to have last second deep play there from Derek Carr and what was it, Rashid Rice or not Rashid Rice, Rashid Sneed, whatever. Huge play, big yardage, sealed the game for him. Awesome. Green Bay lost to an NFC fighter there, NFC South fighter that we just talked about with the Atlanta. They had that hard fought battle that they couldn't win. But Love continuing to impress. He's looking good. He's playing smooth ball. It's clean, good football. You got to like it. And right now, New Orleans technically hasn't like proven anything. The defense is playing well. The offense, I said, was going to take some time to struggle, but they've pulled off the wins both times. Um, so that, hats off to them for just edging it out both games there. Um, but again, it's not super impressive. They're just doing just enough. Green Bay looking a little bit. They looked a little lost last week without Aaron Jones. So that's the big question mark in this game is what does Green Bay look like another week out of Aaron Jones?
Right.
And is New Orleans going to pick things up? This is a hard game for me to pick, but I think I'm going to go Green Bay here to win this game. I think for me, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't want the Saints to win, being in the NFC South. I'd like to see everybody in the NFC South will lose except for the Buccaneers, but that's a different game. But yeah, so I like Green Bay here. I like Jordan Love. He's playing clean football. I think New Orleans and their offense is still trying to figure it out. I talked about it in the pre-show what their struggle was, and it's just right there. There's not any rhythm to
Did
that
he
offense
just
yet, and it's
did he
still going to be a
just
while.
did he just turn the ball over by falling over and falling down on fourth down? Did Love fall over on a fourth down play where he was going to do a QB sneak and he just fell over?
I didn't see that one.
Did that happen
I
at the
only
end of
caught
the
the
I didn't
end
see
of
it.
the Atlanta and Packers
I,
game.
I man, he looked like he was just like he looked like he was drunk or something. He just like fell over, bro. Like it got windy or something. I don't know.
Where you at, Charlie?
Cheeseheads.
You're not lying. The Saints' offense does not look smooth. They definitely got some things. The receivers don't look on the same page, and following both games, their game plan has been remarkably the same. Like they've started off the game trying to run the ball and feed Michael Thomas, and then the second half they've finally gotten Olave involved. and been a little bit more explosive. That catch down the sideline by him last week was just phenomenal. Hopefully they mix it up a little bit more, but Derek Carr struggles on the road. And then on the flip side, the Packers, like you said, it was a tough game. Jordan Love still looking pretty darn good as their quarterback, but that was what gave me pause last week. I ultimately flipped back to the Packers, but that's why I was going with Atlanta last week because of the Aaron Jones thing. I think he is, even when Aaron Rodgers was there, when Aaron Jones was there with him, that gave that team a whole different feel on offense. And I think he's a big deal. Not that Dylan is not a capable back, he just doesn't bring the type of explosive plays that Jones brings to that offense. I think they're getting Christian Watson back this week, but the receivers really have done a good job. Whether it was Romeo Dobbs, whether it was Dontavius Nick, Wicks, all the kids out there, the young receiving core has done a very good job for Jordan Love. So it's bright for the Packers. They're at home. For some reason, though, I feel the Saints. That defense has looked incredible. They were talking on air. I think it's like 8 or 9 games dating back to last year that they haven't allowed an opponent, period, over 20 points. I think when you can keep somebody to 20 points and less, your team is always going to have a legitimate shot to win. It was a big blow losing Williams last week. He won't be there this week, but I think there's still enough knives in the cupboard for the Saints to get this done. I think Jordan Love's still growing too. I think this is a really close game. I like it to go over to 43, but give me the Saints. How about
Yeah,
you, Whip?
yeah, I agree. I'm taking New Orleans here too. Picked Green Bay last week. They fell down on me. I'm taking New Orleans here, even though Jamal Williams is chipped up too. So they're
Yeah,
also
he's got the hammy.
they're also going to be out of running back. He got hurt the same night that Chubb got hurt. Um, but Michael Thomas has looked good. Derek Carr has it in him. You could see the flashes of Olave. Obviously, they're still with the tricks, trying to get Taysom the ball any way they can, because the dude's just a pure athlete. It's incredible to see, incredible to watch. He's a Swiss Army knife on offense. It's kind of like what Micah Parsons is on defense. Like, you just got to get the kid the ball, and he just makes plays happen. I'm gonna go New Orleans here. I think it's a tough ask to go up in Green Bay and get a dub, no matter who the quarterback is. Those fans are ferocious, and that stadium is just got the Lambeau touch to it. Everybody's sitting on hard bleachers. Them fans ain't playing. It's gonna be a tough game. Who knows? It might even rain. I'm taking New Orleans.
All right. I'm surprised I'm the lone Green Bay Wolf here, but it is what it is.
I
Anything
took
else to
Green
add
Bay
here for
because
this game?
their defense last week, they let me down, and New Orleans defense has been playing good enough.
That's true. That's true.
I think that Derek Carr just has it in him. He's a dog, and he'll get it done. I feel like I would rather take Carr against Love than take Love against Carr. I just think that Carr, to me, is just he's a dog, and he'll throw it up. I don't know what I still look. Love is playing great. I really doubted him week 1, but just not playing good enough for me to take him over Carr.
At your old bread and butter, who's the better quarterback when it comes down to it? And that was what your pick was.
Bread and butter.
That was about my fantasy question too. Now that we've made it through the Packers game, bringing it back to the Browns and Deshaun Watson, who do you have more faith in moving forward if you're running your fantasy team? Is it Deshaun Watson or is it Jordan Love? Who would you rather have on your team?
I
Deshaun
like
Watson.
Jordan. I like Jordan Love.
So we got a split decision. I'm up in the air. I think Love has the potential to score more points, but I think Watson offers a little bit more. I just haven't seen it out of him. So that's why I posed the question, because in my own head, couldn't really figure out the answer or what I felt confident about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But Love has been a nice surprise. There's no doubt about it.
it's tough because like the Deshaun we have on Cleveland isn't the Deshaun that we had on the Texans. It's like we've
Exactly.
never actually ever even seen it yet.
Yeah,
Like, so we're
it's the
still just,
it's the quarterback version of Le'Veon Bell right now.
yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well said.
Full year off. Very well said.
Well said.
All right, but keep the train rolling here. Next game, Houston Texans going in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's a 9.5 point favorite here at home. Last week they both lost. Houston lost divisional rival Indiana. First half looked really bad for Houston. Second half they tried to make some magic happen. Almost had a little bit of a comeback story going on, but couldn't quite get it. But they also had to knock out Anthony Richardson for it to be competitive, I think. Jacksonville lost to KC, could have been competitive, but they just absolutely struggled when it came to red zone. They were 0-3. I talked about red zone in a previous game. Here's another one: Jacksonville versus KC, and you might be hats off to KC's defense, but Jacksonville at the end of the day was 0-3 in the red zone. They just couldn't capitalize on the touchdown, and that could have sealed the game for them. They could have beaten KC last week. All they needed was a touchdown, but they couldn't pull it off. Houston, they need more balance in the run. That rookie, 47 attempts last week it was
Jeez.
against Indianapolis.
Wow.
That's tough. I understand Indy has a tough D line. I mentioned that at the beginning. The two D tackles there between DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, big dudes, hard to run against, but you got to try. You can't rely that much on a rookie to throw that much. Um, and then Jacksonville, they beat Indiana week 1 where Houston just lost to them. So I think with that being said, I like Jacksonville. They're going to bounce back off of an ugly week. They're going to look better. They're going to go back to the the simple stuff, the fundamentals. I think Jacksonville here just smooth sailing, moves the ball easily, and Houston's going to have to try to keep up because I don't see them really stopping Jacksonville. So I like Jacksonville here. Where you at, Charlie?
Yeah, Jacksonville ain't like look right either game to me. I thought they let the Colts hang around that one way too long in week 1, but they scored points, and I just chalked it up to week 1 type of deal. And then you're right, that KC game being 0 for 3 in the red zone, and it was 0 for 3 late, like when it mattered. And that's a game you got to win. Like you're legit. I've heard some pundits out there picking them to be in the representative for the AFC in the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Like those are the games you got to win to even be considered in that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And we've kind of all just handed it over to Jacksonville. That's their division. Da 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 da. They're gonna get so much better. You don't forget that like they were barely over 500 in the regular season last year, and it took them a major comeback against the Chargers, who are known to implode, to advance to play KC in the playoffs last year, and they couldn't finish off KC minus a banged up, Mahomes last year. Like, point being is Jacksonville still got some strides to make. It's still a very young team.
No doubt.
I was really impressed with C.J. Stroud last week. He led the league in passing yards last week,
Incredible.
384 yards. And you're right, he threw the ball 47 times. He's got 0 interceptions on the year. He threw the ball quite a few times against Baltimore in week 1 as well. He's the only rookie without a turnover this year. Um, it's this is my upset pick for the week. I'm going Texans here. I think they find a way to get the ground game going because you're not wrong. Damian Pierce has been stuck in the mud. I think he's got 60 yards total in the first 2 games combined running the ball. Jacksonville's defense was good against KC last week, held them down, but in the end, still couldn't win the game. But they gave up a lot of points to Indy the first week. I think C.J. Stroud's going to be able to move the ball. Real impressed with Nico Collins and what he's starting to do here for them. And yeah, I'm gonna take the Texans on the upset here.
All
Yeah, I
A
right.
mean,
major one too, because it's like a 9.5 point spread.
Yep.
yeah,
How about you, Ed?
91 times he's thrown the ball for 58 completions, 2 touchdowns, 626 yards. That's incredible.
60% completion percentage.
That's amazing for a rookie, especially to be on a team that was as bad as they were, to get the 3rd pick in the draft. I'm gonna take the more talented team here. I mean, literally the team is built from the entire free agency class from a year ago and the draft picks of this season. I mean, they added, I think it was like 13 to 18 free agents a season ago. That's astounding to me. That doesn't necessarily translate to success by any means, putting that many free agents on your squad. It's something that I probably do in Madden at least 10 times a season. I'm doing it. I'm taking Jacksonville here because I just think that Jacksonville's the better overall team here, and I have Dameon Pierce, straight stick, straight mud. I just don't know if CJ Stroud's going to have a 300-yard game against this defense that's very fast and can get after you when need be. Coming off the edge with Josh Allen, the likes of the first-round draft pick from 2 seasons ago, Walker. I just think that there's just too much going on over there on the defense for Jacksonville for Houston to consistently put up points if Jacksonville gets going. Both teams are still struggling. It's an individual game. It's going to be a battle because the two need to beat each other. They both need to win this game. So it's going to be a battle. Houston's 0-2. I'd like to say that this is the team that's going to get it because they got to get it, but I just think that Jacksonville's the better team. We were calling them, playoff contenders as soon as the season started. I'm not going to backpedal just because they're still struggling a little bit. It's week 3. This could be the game they find their gear, and I don't see why it couldn't be against Houston. I'm taking Jacksonville. How about you?
All right. I like it. I mean, Houston, hey, they have the surprise ability.
They do.
Nico Collins looks really good.
They do.
Surprising. That was my thing was what wide receiver is going to be catching for CJ Stroud? You can have CJ Stroud be as accurate as you want, but if your guys can't run a route, that don't help you none.
True.
But
Plus
Nico Collins looks pretty.
Plus they have talent at tight end. Brevin Jordan's definitely an athlete and can run if you get it to him. I don't know about him being the best catcher in the league, but it's there. But again, the same thing could be said. The same thing could be said for Jacksonville with their tight end and what they have at wide receiver and what they have at running back. And Tank too. I think they're going to edge this one out. I think Jacksonville's the overall better team, and that's why I'm giving them the nod.
Yeah, what makes CJ Stroud's performance, especially last week, so impressive too, is they were missing 4 out of the 5 starters on offensive line. And we always highlight that, especially when it's, game time and time for us to make our picks. And usually that's a swing and stuff like that. So for him to throw the ball, drop back, and obviously they were down big time. So the Indianapolis team knew that's what they were going to do.
And still
to drop back that much, to not get anything out of Dameon Pierce, and still to have not turned the ball over and been as efficient as he has been. The rookie Tank Dell had a nice game last week as well, and Robert Woods has been steady Eddie for him. So I mean, there was some good mojo for the Texans moving forward, even if they don't get this game. There's definitely some bright spots.
They're trending.
All right. Anything else to add here for Houston, Jacksonville?
No.
Yep.
All right, moving on. 2 surprising 0-2 teams here. You got the Los Angeles Chargers going to the Minnesota Vikings. Even Vegas doesn't know what to do here because it's an even score line. They're like, who the hell knows? That's literally what Vegas bettors are telling you right now because both these teams, if you told me both these teams were 0-2 going into this game in week 3, you would say something had to happen bad for both teams for this to happen.
Right, like you cut your 1,000-yard back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or your prolific wide receiver isn't showing up. But
right.
But the wide receivers look good. The quarterbacks look good. The defenses just aren't quite showing up. Week 2, Los Angeles Chargers, disappointing loss, overtime to Tennessee. We touched on that. Minnesota had a loss to Philly there on Thursday Night Football. So they get a little bit more practice time, a little bit more time to watch film, whatever you want it to be. But it's a tough game here. Los Angeles is giving up a lot of passing yards. And I think it's like they're averaging giving up like 350 a game right now or something like that. I understand they played Miami. That's a huge swing in Miami, against your defense and against the score sheet. But then again, here it is with Minnesota, with obviously Justin Jefferson, and then you got Jordan Addison. They like moving the ball. They like throwing it. They hardly run anymore. I think they had like 30. They're averaging like 35 rushing yards a game right now. So you know they're going to be throwing it. Um, so with that, I'm going to go Minnesota, just attacking the weakness of the Chargers and Minnesota winning this game. I don't want it. I want the Chargers to win. I like the Chargers more than Minnesota, but just the way the game plays out, their strengths, weaknesses, I think Minnesota wins this.
Yeah, I struggled with this one just as much as Vegas did, making the odds. Both teams' offenses, passing wise, especially, look very good. I mean, when you look at the Bolt side of things, you still got Eckler banged up, looking like he might miss another week. Um, Viking side, they're
There's no
pretty healthy.
timetable.
They add Cam Akers to the mix. Should be a familiar enough offense for him coming from the Rams over to the Vikings with O'Connell. Running backs are pretty much plug and play guys, so he should be playing on Sunday. I would expect. Um, it's tough. Neither team wants to stop the opposing teams. This is the only game in the slate with an over 50 game total as far as points scored. It's coming in at 54. I see why. Kurtz looked good. Herbert's looked great. I took the Bolts here, and there's not a lot of separators for me. I had to pick one of these guys. I never would have guessed both of them would have been 0-2. I maybe could have seen the Vikings considering who they were playing. I thought they should have got the Bucks week one actually. And the Bolts, I figured they would have grabbed last week, but they made Tannehill look like he was legit.
Looks like
So
Tannehill in Miami.
yeah, lots of points here. I'm gonna take Chargers. I think they're the ones that this game means more to at the end of the day than the Vikings. So I'll go Bolts.
Yeah, I can't get over the trifecta that the Minnesota Vikings have at wide receiver, and yeah, sure, 19 carries for 62 yards for Madison. That's not a pace of getting you 1,000 yards rushing or even 1,200 yards rushing. And you got to ask yourself, is this what they're missing on offense? On why they can't get over the hump? Why they can't move forward this year and get a dub? I don't think that it'll stop them from getting a dub this week. I think I'm going to give the nod to Minnesota, and I think that the Chargers just don't edge this one out. I think it's a real high scoring game, and it goes back and forth. But with no Eckler, there's no stability over there. They're not going to be able to control the clock and control what the Chargers do. So I think it'll be back and forth. And ultimately, Minnesota will have the edge when it comes to passing the ball over Herbert and the Chargers.
I like it.
Fair
I see
enough.
that happening.
All right. Anything else to add there for that game?
Yeah.
Oh, you got one, Eddie? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got one. Mine was if Austin Eckler doesn't go, do the Chargers have a viable fantasy option at running back? Do they have someone that you could pick up and play in that slot where you had Eckler?
That's tough. I think there's just too many mouths to feed on that Chargers offense that they're going to be like, hey, this new running back that we're not 100% sure on, let's feed him the ball enough for me to consider like, hey, that's the guy I need to go out and get in fantasy.
Yeah.
I think between how well Keenan Allen is playing and the deep threat of Mike Williams, it's hard for me to say that the next man up at running back is
Right.
worth me
Picking up.
dropping somebody on my fantasy team to pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, the answer is Joshua Kelly, but it's not an answer that I really like either. I mean, to me, when I look at it, there's no reason for the Chargers not to not throw the ball. I mean, they
Yeah.
should just throw the ball every time they have the ball.
Right.
And, even when it gets down to goal line, throw it some more. Kelly showed some burst against the Dolphins. I think he scored a touchdown there. But he's nowhere near what Eckler brings to the table in
For
my
sure.
eyes. So yeah, I wouldn't mortgage the farm for him either.
For sure. Yeah, my answer is no. I went with no because I just don't see the Chargers having enough faith to give it to a guy 20 to 30 times in a game to make it viable because the run game will turn into a short pass game. That's it. That's what they'll do. It'll be a check down type of thing. They'll screens. They'll figure something out to get that type of production. I don't
Plus
see
their
them.
plus their defense can't keep it close. So you run the ball when
Yeah.
it's you got a lead.
Yeah.
They haven't really been able to get that yet. So
True.
you
True.
got to continue to pass. Mine real quick. Alexander Madison or Cam Akers for the rest of the season. If you could have one of those guys, who would you rather have? Because it's a good offense. You know it's a good offense. You at very least are going to get goal line opportunities, just by pure numbers with a good offense. You're going to make it down inside the 10. So who would you rather have, Cam Akers or Alexander Madison for the
That's
rest of the
easy for
season?
me.
Who's that?
That's an easy question for me. I don't know how Brady feels about it, but I'll step right in and I'll say that the body of work that I've seen from Cam Akers proves to me that he's a more viable back than what I've ever seen from Madison, backing up uh, backing up Cook. So I take, with the season-ending injury and everything, I take Akers over Madison, just because of his
Fair.
pure body of work that I've seen from him, and I've seen him behind a decent offensive line of the Rams be a back that'll make you say, "Whoa, that was a nice run. Damn, did you see that cut?" I mean, we just haven't seen it since he's been frustrated. Let's be real. Like ever since he's been frustrated, we just kind of like haven't seen the same guy. But
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. It's tough for me. I think if I'm looking at it, this is my flex position, my WRT, whatever it is. And I don't think I would take either. I think I take an either option here. I don't like having to rely on either one of them to get me points. I'd rather take the risk on a high ceiling wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 on a team,
Fair.
right? Maybe like a Trey Palmer of the Buccaneers who's like touchdown dependent, right? He's not going to get the volume of Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, but comes down to he's the dude that hits the open underneath slot. Um,
Yeah.
Versus these guys who you're almost relying on them to get a goal line work because that's pretty much where they're going to get it.
Well, let's say taking that part out of the equation, let's say you're coming up to the bye weeks and you'll have a running back on a bye and you're going to need somebody to flex in. Would you rather flex in Cam Akers for a game or Alexander Madison for a game?
I
Because
Cam.
you're
think I'd
forced to. You gotta
if I'm
start a running back.
forced to, I guess I'd force myself to go Madison because I think middle of the field would go to him, and if
Yep.
it, I think the yardage and the check downs are going to go to Madison.
I'd go Cam Akers because I think he's going to be effective at the very least inside the 10. I think he's going to score some touchdowns this year. I agree. Neither back is, lighting your world on fire. But if I had to go something, I agree with Eddie. Body of work, what I've seen from Cam, what we saw from him the last 3 games of the season last year with the Rams too. He put over 100 yards on the table all 3 of those games. So he's still got it, and he's further along in his rehab than he was last season. So yeah, I'd go Cam again. Familiarity with the offense. I like Akers there.
All right,
Is that the last 1 o'clock game?
that's wrapping it up for 1 o'clock.
Let's go.
Anything fun, fun games there. Lots of question marks. There's a lot of big games. I think potentiality there.
No,
For
this
sure.
early season, this year has been full of oohs and ahs, and
And it's like week
last
3. We're
week
talking
and
about like it's week 10, and it's already been
Yeah.
wild already.
There's been
yes,
some oh shits. There's been some
Yeah.
yeah.
oh shit, and there's been some oh shit, man.
Yeah. For
You've gotten
sure.
all of it. You got all flavors of oh shit.
Yeah.
Well done, well
It's getting
done,
real
well
shitty
done.
out there.
Make sure you guys keep with the feedback. Hit us with your likes,
Yes, sir.
subscribes, hit us with your questions. And
Spotify,
then make sure
YouTube.
you turn in for the 4 o'clock games, and we'll have the Monday night games up for y'all as well. And thank you
We
for
will.
watching.
Thank you. Thank you.